My name is Dana Zimbrick. I'm the Artistic Director and Conductor for Classics for Kids. I'm so glad you joined us today for a STEAM special meet and greet program. Today we're highlighting David Savage, who in our orchestra is a bassoonist, but is also a flutist. And today he's going to be talking to us all about how the flute makes its sound. So sit back and enjoy this program, and special thanks to David Savage for his work creating this program and helping us to understand how the flute works. Take it away, David.
Hello class, my name is Mr. David Savage and I'm a flute player, and I've brought some of my instruments today to play you a few songs and tell you a little bit about how they work. This first song is called Syrinx, written by a Frenchman named Claude Debussy, and she was a young Greek goddess. Well, Syrinx was shy and really liked to be left alone, but there was another young Greek god named Pan who was a big tease, and he just was always into mischief, and one day he was chasing Syrinx around. He chased Syrinx down by the river, and Syrinx didn't want to get caught, so she asked the river nymphs to turn her into some river reeds so she could hide in the river. So that's what happened. This piece of river reed is from my backyard, in a pot growing in my backyard, but it actually grows all over San Diego County, and you can find here's another piece that's about 20 years old. This piece is about 5 years old. You can find it down in Mission Valley and Mission Trails, anywhere down by the river where it's wet sandy soil. It's likely to be growing because it just loves this area. So that's what Syrinx got turned into, and Pan couldn't find her. So Pan didn't want to go home empty-handed, and he grabbed a bunch of those pieces of cane and he put them together into what we call the first pan flute. So here you see some short ones and some longer ones. The short ones make high pitches and the longer ones make lower pitches. And all the ones in the middle we have for some melodies. So that's the pan flute. You can see it's a little bit of a tricky instrument. I wanted to show you a little bit more about how the pan flute works and how flutes in general work. So now you see here's a bottle with a little bit of air in the top, and it's just water with some food coloring down below. So it's a sort of a short air column, makes a high pitch, and if we want a lower pitch we have to get more air in by taking some water out. So you see we can just put whatever amount of water we need in there to get the notes we want. And here I'll show you a little collection of tuned bottles, 7 of them, and we'll just play a little bit of Yankee Doodle here so you can hear those and how this looks and what it works like. See, isn't that fun? Now, it's a little cumbersome to try to play all of those bottles with one person, so you might try just playing 2 bottles and having a couple friends with other bottles, and then you guys can make a little ensemble of water bottle music. One other thing I did want to point out was that the volume of the bottle is not the only factor for the pitch. So here we have the brown bottle is 12.5 ounces and the clear one is 9 ounces. And the big bottle has that pitch, and the smaller bottle has a lower pitch. Now why is that? And it has to do with the shape of the bottle, mostly the length of the bottle. And you can study the research of a German scientist named Hermann von Helmholtz. Helmholtz resonators are some of the early science of flutes, and he's a good guy to study for that. There's an even older design than the pan flute, which is this design here, where we have a notch on the top of an open flute and 6 tone holes, and all we do to change the size of the tube is cover a hole. So that can be much faster than doing it like a pan flute of moving the whole instrument. Now we're just moving our fingers. But this kind of notch-blown flute, end-blown flute with the notch here, is a little tricky to aim the air right in the precise spot for that notch. So one of the things that happened was flute makers decided, let's move the notch down a little bit and instead put an air passage here, which they call a windway. So the air passage aims correctly at the notch and it takes all the guesswork out of it. So it's easy to play a note there. And we have the same 6 holes here. And there's Ryu Chiu again, played much more easily. This is a Native American style flute, and I want to play one tune here written by a Navajo Ute Native American who's about my age. His name is Carlos Nakai, and this is December Snow from one of his songbooks about a gentle snowstorm in northern Arizona in the mountains in winter, December. And there is an excerpt of Carlos Nakai's December Snow, played on a Native American style flute. And that brings us back to the modern flute, where I can describe a few things to you here. So I'll just take this part out. We call that the head joint. It's kind of the mouthpiece of the flute. And it makes a tone like that all by itself. And one of the things that makes this easier to play than the end-blown flute for me is the fact that it has a little bit wider notch to blow at, or an edge, and there's a lip plate that the edge is part of, and so it's easier for me to position my lip precisely. The other thing you notice about this flute is that there are keys on it now instead of holes. And that's because the holes are now too big to be covered by my fingers. So my fingers aren't as big as the holes, so now I need some keys to cover that. So the last song I'm going to play on the flute is called How Far Will I Go? And it's about thinking about what you want to do with your life. And that brings me to the end of my little flute demonstration. So thank you very much, and have a great day. Bye.